Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Big Dave, and today we're talking about judgment. Do you realize how quickly you judge a thing? It's a matter of seconds, if not even before that, like milliseconds, that you could judge something. We do this instinctively, not just with people. You walk down a grocery store aisle, and we can judge whether or not we're going to look at it, depending upon the label or the picture. You give it maybe 2 seconds, if they're lucky. And then that judgment just, boom, is there. And it's instinctive almost. And that's called judging with your eyes. And when we judge with our eyes, we're really leaving a lot on the table. And what I mean by that is, you hear the old cliche, never judge a book by its cover. Yeah, that's a true statement. And here's how I like to look at it. When I have, and I know I'm judging, because if I came up with a conclusion and I don't know that person, but I have this instinct, I want to prove whether I'm right or wrong. And you do that by getting to know the person, by judging them, not by jumping to conclusions, but by asking questions. And we seem to all have forgotten what are the reasons why. And don't forget, most people, when they give you the first answer, isn't the real answer. I know it's complex. It sucks. I get it. I understand. You're like, what do I got to deal with that crap? Well, you do it too. So you got to deal with it. Your first answer isn't always the real one. It's something that's right there in your mind. It's right in the forefront of your mind. Judging is something we all do. So how do we handle that? Well, on a leadership basis, you don't just judge with eyes and words. You judge by the actions and the results, which means you use all your senses, not just your eyes. Let's use some things that we do every day, like someone didn't return a text, someone didn't snap you back, the deadline's missed, or maybe someone just goes a little bit cray-cray, maybe not too bad, maybe really bad in the middle of a meeting. Our brain wants to rush to fill in those gaps. Our brain wants to go and know the reason why, and it will automatically fill things in, whether true or not. It'll be full of them. Now, if you know that it's a judgment and you don't know that it's confirmed, then you can make sure you're not treating that person in such a way. But your brain doesn't know that difference, so it's going to take it as a fact. And if you're not catching yourself, you're going to jump to conclusions very quickly. How fast can you look at someone and go, that person's a dick, or man, they are lazy and worthless, or something along that line. But do you know what's happening is we're labeling them without knowing what they're going through. And all we're doing is fueling our assumptions, not finding out a fact. And we fuel our assumptions constantly just to make sure we feel that we're right. But that doesn't make it fact. There's a difference in knowing that there's something that's a fact and acting on judgment. They're not the same. Let me give you for instance. Let's say that you go and you're shopping. Let's say you go to a grocery store. And let's say the cashier is just not nice. You're trying to have maybe a pleasant conversation. They're not having any of it. You're trying to just get through and ask a question about how to fix something, and they're not really helping. Our judgment instantly would go, well, they got a terrible attitude. But what if I told you before you went in that cash out line, that person's worked a double shift and has to work double shifts because their mom is terminally ill within the hospital, and she's on her last little bit of life, and they're trying to pay for the bills and make it through. What would your attitude be when you go through the line then? Maybe a little more patient? It goes back to one of the other old sayings, you walk a mile in someone else's shoes, you kind of know what's going on in their life. And that's why judging is such a bad idea to act on unless you know it's true. Now, judging someone's going to happen. We're going to do it. But let's seek to find out what's true rather than jump to that conclusion and act upon it, fill in those gaps within our mind and think it's all real. You guys picking up on what I'm laying down here? A lot of people would sit there and say, what's wrong with this person? A great leader asks questions. I notice things are a little off. Would you like to talk about what's going on with you? I'm wondering, you haven't been yourself. Are you okay? And if they get defensive, you're not defensive back because you're seeking to understand, not to judge. You have your suspicions, yes, but that doesn't mean that you're going to believe that suspicion to be true. You want to prove it true. And whether it is or not, it's going to be the answers that they give you. So try not to jump to those conclusions. And even more importantly, when you do, make sure you are aware that they are assumptions. They're not facts. And then that way you're not treating someone in a terrible way when they're in a terrible situation because you're not acting on those assumptions and automatically filling in those gaps with your head that may or may not be true. So I'm going to end it with this. When someone disappoints you, when someone does something that you don't like, try and remember these 3 words: ask, listen, context. Ask them what's going on. Actually listen to what they say without jumping to the conclusion, and try to understand the context of what's happening within their life or what has transpired within their life. And that'll give you a lot better answers as to what is going on than jumping to conclusions. Judging people is so easy because we just do it naturally. So that doesn't take any talent whatsoever. Your talent comes in from making sure that you're not acting upon those assumptions. That's where talent comes in. And as a leader, you need to be talented, don't you? You got responsibility of all these people to work with and responsibility to whatever company you're working for. You need to be continually growing and leading. So remember, anyone can criticize. Anyone can come and jump to conclusions. Not anyone can ask, listen, context. All right, that's it. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you.